You're listening to the Arts Report on YouTube. The 2011 Vancouver Folk Music Festival is now 34 years old. It's a Vancouver institution set in the idyllic surroundings of Jericho Beach Park. Gwen Kallio handles media and publicity for the festival and has been with it for many years. We called her up amid the frantic last-minute preparations for this year's festival that is featuring over 60 musicians, an army of volunteers, vendors, media, artisans, and of course, music lovers. Gwen gives us the scoop on this year's buzz bands, on the new enviro-friendly festival initiatives. But first, Gwen tells us that even though it's been going on for 34 years, every year feels like a fresh start.
Every year is a fresh start for the festival. It's been likened to taking off in a 747 from a cold start. It's a big event. It's got lots of artists coming from all over the world. It's got 1,500 volunteers, crews, staff, building a major, almost small town at Jericho Beach Park. And so, yeah, it's every year we kind of gear up, and we're just so lucky to have volunteers who've been around for many, many years who can take over and kind of know what they're doing. They've got the background, they've got the experience, and they kind of carry the festival when we actually hit the park. But every year it's new, and there's always changes and fresh ideas and new initiatives coming into the mix. And every year there's a new list of artists, new roster of performers coming to the festival.
Now I want to ask about those artists, but before we move on, I want to ask about one of those initiatives this year is regarding the environment and not making a mess. Is that true?
Well, the environment has very much always been a focal aspect of the festival. It started early on with the park itself because, with 35,000 or so people heading through that park, walking around it over a weekend, one of our major concerns is to always leave that park at least in as good shape as we found it, that we minimize our impact on the critters and creatures that live there all year long. But beyond that, the festival was, I think, a pioneer in instituting real plates as opposed to garbaging plates. And so for many years we've washed the plates. This isn't happening this year. Unfortunately, we're composting all of them. But one of the things that we have initiated this year is the decision not to sell bottled water on site.
Yes, I remember from any festival, but I remember Pemberton at the end of the festival. It was just a sea of empty bottles at the end of the weekend, and I imagine that's what you're trying to avoid. Well,
it's a lot of plastic going into the landfill, and even if they recycle a good part of it, it's just energy wasted. So pretty much everybody I know carries around a water bottle with them. They fill it up, and kind of avoid buying plastic water bottles. So that's what we're asking people to do this year. We're not going to be selling water in bottles on the site, but instead we're asking people to bring their own water bottles. They can be certainly a plastic water bottle if they want, but they can refill it on the site. We'll have water stations located at various strategic places around the park, and people can stop and just refill there rather than contributing to tons of waste in the landfills.
Okay, now let's get to the music. Now, you are responsible for the sort of media and artist spheres, and so I want to ask you, who is everybody clamoring to get access to? What are the artists that everybody wants a piece of?
Well, there's a top 4 list that starts with Roseanne Cash, Gillian Welch, Tim Robbins, and we also got a number of requests for people like Justin Townes Earl, Emmanuel Jal. There's a top list, but also there's a lot of people who kind of are digging beyond the most familiar and famous names coming, and absolutely understand they are all great artists. But beyond that, there's lots of interest in new country rehab. Freshly Ground certainly is going to be seeing a cover an article in the Province tomorrow all about them. I'm really excited they're coming. They're a really big name. around the world, and this is the first time they're in Vancouver, and I think they're going to create quite a buzz. So, there's a little bit. Vancouver media is certainly aware of those well-known names, but also very interested in who else is coming and joining all of us in discovering new names and new music amongst the range of artists that are coming to the festival. There's over 60, so there's lots of choices.
And listening to the music as well, you're certainly doing a lot of work all throughout till the very end of the festival, but I imagine you get to hear a little music here and there.
I do my best.
Yeah.
I do my best.
And so I just want to get your take on the sort of trends. What's in 2011, what's new, what's hot in folk music, or what direction is it heading?
Well, that's a good question. What I'm seeing a lot of is, a continuing trend of fusion. Of looking at not only different genres of music, and it's often very difficult to describe some of these artists because they may start from a roots or folk base and then kind of wend their way into pop and jazz and other kinds of music, but that certainly continues, and it really is a very individual exploration for each artist. So you see a lot of that kind of coming to the fore. Americana music, sort of not, I wouldn't call it old-time music, but music that has roots in old-timey traditions of the Appalachians. There's a lot of artists kind of going into there and rediscovering that music and making it their own. Pokey Lafarge and the South City Three, for one. Samantha Crane. There's a lot. Oh, certainly Emily Wells, who is very much a young artist who is melding sort of Americana music with symphonic sounds. David Wax Museum is melding a very sort of traditional American folk music sound with Mexican conjunto music.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot of that going on. I just really see a lot of really independent spirit in the music, people trying new things, making new connections in their music, and a lot of younger artists really taking some respectful looks at tradition and seeing what they can do with that.
All right. Well, Gwen, you're very busy, and we want to let you get back to putting this giant thing together. But last question: if people were to see just one performance,
no.
if as tragic as that might sound, what would you recommend them to see?
Oh, I honestly, that's an impossible thing to say. Oh my goodness, one artist or one workshop? You know what I do? I'm not going to answer that.
Okay.
You refuse.
Okay.
I refuse to answer that. I just really wish people go to the website, to the www.thefestival.bc.ca. There's two buttons there. One says daytime stages, and the other says evening stages. Click on them both, because when you see, for example, that Roseanne Cash is in a workshop on Saturday afternoon called Sisters in Song, that Tim Robinson is in a labor workshop with Leon Rosselson and Dick Gaughan and others. That's sort of the meat and potatoes of the festival, the daytime workshops. Really wish people would plan to come out and take advantage of those, because they're just the moments of brilliance, of collaboration that you take away with you from the festival, and then go to the main stages and the evening stages, because we've got Friday night we've got 2 stages running in the evening, which is a new thing as well.
Okay.
And on Saturday and Sunday, 3 stages, the evening main stage and 2 other stages running.
Awesome.
Different times, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. So it would just be a crime to only see one thing. Is that what you're saying?
It would be a virtual impossibility. Right. I would guarantee that there is no one out there who can go to the festival and just see one thing and then leave. Right.
Even if you tried, you couldn't do it because there's just so much happening in so many parts.
On the way.
Exactly.
I would bet money on it, but I'm not going to do that. You just see music on the way out, so you already saw 2 things.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Don't miss the Arts Report on CiTR Radio in Vancouver, 101.9 FM. That's Wednesdays at 5 p.m. We're also streaming online at CiTR.ca every Wednesday at 5. And don't miss our podcast, which you can find, at CiTR.ca.